So when you hear the word yoga, what is like the very first thing that pops into your mind?
Right. For most people, it's trendy studios.
Exactly. It's trendy studios, tight pants, maybe a really hot, sweaty room.
Yeah, balancing on one foot while some indie music plays in the background.
Right. But today, we are completely shattering that Western illusion of what yoga actually is.
We really are, because what we're looking at today is an architecture of human optimization that is so staggeringly comprehensive.
It really is. I mean, the concept of wearing tight pants and just stretching doesn't even make up a fraction of a percent of what this science actually entails.
Not even close. The modern framing has essentially reduced this massive ancient life management system into a wellness commodity.
A consumer product, basically.
Exactly. It's designed to fit neatly into this 60-minute slot between dropping the kids off and hopping on a Zoom call.
And while there is definitely a physical benefit to stretching, getting your body moving, the reduction of this entire science actively harms practitioners.
It really does, because when you extract one tiny piece of a holistic system and just ignore the rest, you are inviting profound psychological and physical imbalance.
Which is exactly the core mission of our deep dive today. We are pulling from the teachings of a really fascinating figure named Osman.
Right. Widely known as the Blind Muslim Yogi.
Yes. And Osman is an energy healer, an entrepreneur, and a teacher who has been actively practicing yoga for 50 years.
50 years! That's an incredible amount of time.
It is. He's been instructing since 1981, so that's 44 years of active teaching.
And our goal today is to really deconstruct the major components of yoga science exactly as he lays them out.
Right, and to discover why he believes that 99.99% of Western practitioners are missing the crucial elements that prevent burnout and illness.
But before we delve into the mechanics of his framework, we do need to establish a very clear disclaimer.
Yes, very important. Osman himself is very careful to emphasize this.
Right. His teachings, his natural therapies, and his insights into energy healing are absolutely not intended to be a replacement for qualified medical treatment.
Exactly. If you have a medical condition, the directive is to seek out a licensed medical professional in your area.
Osman provides a complementary perspective forged through, half a century of deep-lived experience, but it operates alongside conventional medicine, not in place of it.
Right, and that phrase, half a century of lived experience, is doing a lot of heavy lifting here.
It really is. We aren't dissecting the theories of someone who took a 6-week online certification course to teach at the local gym.
No, we are looking at 50 years of rigorous testing and verification of ancient protocols.
And the very first thing he challenges is the actual scope of the discipline itself.
This blew my mind. Osman defines authentic yoga as encompassing fields like drama, music, warfare, military tactics,
governance, diplomatic relations, mathematics, astrology, astronomy, and even food preparation.
Right. I mean, that list forces you to completely reevaluate what spirituality even is. He includes military tactics and diplomacy.
Yeah, and initially, that sounds like a total contradiction, right?
Completely. I mean, how does the ultimate science of peace incorporate warfare?
Yeah.
It makes no sense at first glance.
Right, but it only looks like a contradiction through the fragmented lens of modern Western thought.
Because we tend to compartmentalize our lives so much.
Exactly. We categorize spirituality as this escape from the physical world.
Like you close your eyes, you retreat inward, and you just check out of the chaotic, aggressive reality of human existence.
Yeah, but ancient yoga science, according to Osman's framework, demands total mastery.
Total mastery, meaning you cannot claim true self-mastery if you are entirely incapable of navigating the external environment.
Right. If you master the internal mind, you must inherently know how to project that mastery outward into the physical world.
Because the external world is where the mind is actually tested.
Exactly. It is so easy to feel peaceful when you are sitting alone in a silent, temperature-controlled room.
Oh, for sure. But if you fall apart the moment someone challenges you at work or the moment a crisis arises, your practice hasn't actually fortified you.
It hasn't. It has just isolated you.
Right.
Consider the psychological requirements of, say, governance or diplomatic relations.
Okay.
To negotiate a complex treaty or to make life and death decisions for a society, a leader needs an ego that is completely subjugated to the greater good.
Oh, wow. They have to be totally detached from their own pride.
Exactly. They must possess the ability to read the true intentions of their adversaries without being clouded by their own emotional reactivity.
That requires so much internal balance. They need to understand resource management, human psychology, and the long-term consequences of their actions.
Right. Ancient systems viewed mathematics, diplomacy, and conflict resolution as the direct, practical applications of a perfectly balanced mind.
That reframes conflict entirely.
Wow.
We usually view a spiritual person as someone who just, like, runs away from conflict.
A pacifist who avoids confrontation at all costs.
Exactly. But in this paradigm, if you are spiritually evolved, you step directly into the chaos.
You don't hide from conflict. You resolve it with maximum efficiency and minimum harm.
And that requires an understanding of tactics. That requires strategic thinking.
You have to know how the physical world operates in order to harmonize it.
And that includes warfare, which is so jarring to modern sensibilities.
It is, but think about it. If a society is threatened by an external aggressor intent on destruction, a fully realized practitioner doesn't just passively allow the destruction to happen.
Right, they calculate the most effective means of defense.
But the difference is the internal state from which that defense is mounted.
It is not driven by hatred or panic or bloodlust.
Exactly. It is driven by clear, detached necessity. The application of force becomes a mathematical precision rather than an emotional reaction.
It is so profound. We really just isolate spirituality into this tiny 30-minute box in our modern lives.
We really do. We tell ourselves that from 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m., we are spiritual. We are on the mat. We are breathing.
And then at 7:30 to 1 a.m., we step off the mat, get into our cars, hit traffic, and immediately start screaming at the windshield.
Yeah, we have completely separated the mind from the mechanics of living.
But Osman paints a picture of a practitioner who is equally as spiritually engaged while balancing a complex mathematical equation as they are while sitting in silent meditation.
The math and the meditation are just different expressions of the exact same underlying mastery.
Right. And this holistic understanding brings us to how Osman views the application of these principles in the modern era.
Yes. Fast forwarding to the 21st century, he highlights 5 main components of yoga science that remain highly relevant today.
We can think of these as the core 5.
The 5 components he points to are Hatha Yoga, Mantra Yoga, Raja Yoga, Jnana Yoga, which focuses on intellect and philosophy.
And he explicitly mentions Swami Vivekananda and Advaita philosophy there, right?
He does, yeah. And then finally, Laya Yoga, which most people today recognize as Kundalini Yoga.
Okay, so 5 distinct paths. Does he rank them? Like, is one better than the others?
No, he is very clear that he isn't ranking these hierarchically as if one is inherently superior.
Got it.
But he does identify Raja Yoga as the most all-encompassing umbrella. Raja translates to royal, and it is considered the royal path
Why is it the royal path?
because it provides a comprehensive structural framework for human development. It actually contains 8 distinct limbs,
Almost like an operational manual for the human nervous system.
exactly like an operational manual.
And those 8 limbs are yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi.
Right. And let's focus on that third limb for a second, asana.
Oh man, this is where the massive global misunderstanding happens.
It really is, because in the West, the word asana conjures an image of a sweaty, intense, acrobatic routine.
Right. You picture people twisting their bodies into incredibly complex, physically demanding shapes.
Which is the entire basis of the modern multi-billion-dollar yoga industry.
But Osman argues that this definition is fundamentally flawed.
Completely flawed. In the strict classical context of Raja Yoga, asana simply translates to a comfortable, steady, seated posture.
Wait, really? Just sitting down?
That is the entirety of its purpose in this specific limb.
Wow.
It serves as a physical prerequisite for the stages that follow, namely pranayama, which is breath work, and the subsequent stages of meditation.
So you just must be able to sit comfortably without your back aching or your legs falling asleep.
Right, so that your physical body ceases to be a distraction to your mind.
That is wild. The massive Western yoga industry is built on an interpretation of a word that essentially just meant find a good chair.
Find a good chair or sit comfortably on the floor so you can focus.
Yeah. It is a profound overfixation on the physical vehicle, entirely divorced from the destination.
And this leads directly to a critical warning Osman issues regarding the trap of specialization.
What kind of specialization?
Well, he observes that modern practitioners almost always fall into the habit of picking one single path and treating it as if it encompasses the entire universe of the science.
Oh, I see this all the time. People will fixate entirely on jnana yoga. They dive into the intellectual, philosophical pursuit.
Right, they read dense ancient texts, they debate the nuances of Advaita, the philosophy of non-duality.
And they just live entirely inside their own massive, expanded intellects.
Or on the flip side, you have people who only practice mindfulness meditation.
Yeah, they sit in silence, observing their thoughts, trying to achieve a blank slate.
But while they do this, they completely neglect the physical balancing of Hatha yoga or the psychological protection of mantra yoga.
The danger of this hyperspecialization cannot be overstated.
It really can't.
Yeah.
You cannot cultivate a deeply expansive mind while entirely neglecting the physical vessel that houses it.
Or the energetic pathways that fuel it.
Exactly. Focusing solely on intellectual philosophy without physical practice creates a massive disconnect.
The brain understands the theory of non-duality, but the nervous system is still locked in a state of chronic stress.
Yes. It reminds me of the gym analogy you brought up before.
Oh, right. It's like someone deciding to get healthy, so they go to the gym. But every single day, for 10 straight years, they only do bicep curls.
Just an hour of bicep curls every single day.
Exactly. They completely ignore cardiovascular health. They never train their legs. They eat terrible food.
And 10 years later, they're walking around with bulging arms, but their knees are failing.
Right. They can't walk up a flight of stairs without gasping for breath, and their lower back is in chronic agony.
And they wonder why their body is falling apart when they go to the gym every day.
It's spiritual joint wear and tear.
That's a great way to put it. You are overdeveloping one specific capacity, while your holistic system atrophies from neglect.
And this imbalance leads directly to what Osman identifies as the most dangerously neglected element in the Western yogic workout.
Yes. He states that 99.99% of Western practitioners are entirely missing a crucial lifeline.
Mantra yoga. And he is very clear that he isn't talking about a fun little chant to start a class.
Not at all. He describes it as an absolute necessity.
See, when I thought of mantras before diving into these sources, I imagined someone saying Om a few times.
Or perhaps repeating a daily affirmation in the mirror, like, I am going to have a productive Tuesday.
Exactly. But that is a far cry from the actual mechanics of the discipline.
To Osman, a properly initiated mantra is an advanced, highly specific psychological and energetic tool.
And true mantra yoga is notoriously difficult to understand, isn't it?
It is. And finding a genuinely qualified teacher who can impart a mantra with its inherent energetic weight is even harder.
The practice is often kept secret or guarded.
Which is why you see Westerners traveling across the globe to find an authentic teacher.
Or dangerously scouring the internet to randomly select a mantra without understanding how it interacts with the subconscious mind.
Right. When Osman refers to a mantra as an insurance policy, that really frames it differently.
Yeah, that phrase tripped me up at first. We usually associate insurance policies with property damage or health coverage. What exactly are we insuring ourselves against when we meditate?
We are insuring ourselves against the profound psychological turbulence of our own unconscious minds.
Wow. Because modern wellness culture has completely sanitized the concept of meditation.
It has. We treat it as a peaceful, relaxing mental vacation.
But when you engage in deep, authentic spiritual inquiry, you are actively shutting down the default mode network of the brain.
You are bypassing your conscious filters and entering the basement of your psyche.
And the basement isn't always filled with light and peace.
Rarely is it. You are encountering repressed trauma. You are facing deeply buried fears.
Shadow aspects of your personality and just vast, chaotic mental energy that you have spent your entire life suppressing.
Deep meditation can be terrifying. It brings up intensely overwhelming material.
And if you do not have a structural anchor to ground you, that psychological material can completely destabilize your sense of reality.
Osman uses an incredible analogy to explain this risk.
The space travel analogy, I love this one.
Yes, he compares deep spiritual exploration to taking off in a spaceship from Earth.
You are leaving the known world behind. You are rocketing toward an unexplored, totally alien galaxy.
You are crossing frontiers of consciousness you have never experienced.
And once you leave the atmosphere of your normal waking reality, you are completely on your own.
Yeah.
It is not easy to just turn the ship around. You are in deep space.
It perfectly captures the profound ungroundedness that accompanies intense psychological inquiry.
You literally leave behind your normal, comfortable sense of identity.
People who undergo intense spiritual awakenings frequently describe this exact sensation, a feeling of being lost in a vast, terrifying void, unable to reconnect with their daily lives.
Let's push that space analogy even further to understand the mantra's specific role.
Okay, let's do it.
Imagine you are that astronaut, and you need to perform a spacewalk. You open the airlock and step out into the infinite dark void of space.
The mantra is the physical carbon fiber tether physically clipping your suit to the hull of the spaceship.
Yes, it's the only thing keeping you anchored to a point of safety.
Without that tether, you take one wrong step, you get disoriented, and you just drift off into the absolute darkness.
The mantra physically grips and grounds the mind. It acts as a homing beacon.
When the subconscious material becomes too overwhelming, or when the dissolution of the ego induces panic, the rhythmic repetition of the mantra provides a structural pathway back to safety.
And this leads to Osman's explicit warning about a very modern crisis. He warns about the extreme danger of scrambling for made-up protection at the last minute.
Yes, if you run into overwhelming psychological forces in the depths of your own mind, and you try to just invent a grounding technique right then and there, you are going to be swept away.
You can't build a life raft while you're drowning in the middle of the ocean.
Look at the modern mental health landscape. People are desperate for relief and meaning.
They are diving headfirst into intense, unguided psychedelic experiences.
Or they are downloading advanced meditation apps and pushing themselves into deep, altered states of consciousness alone in their bedrooms.
They have no psychological grounding. They haven't done the foundational ethical work. They have no qualified teacher. And they certainly don't have a tether.
They are opening massive doors in their own psyches without possessing the tools to close them.
They are launching the spaceship without the tether and wondering why they feel completely dissociated from reality when they come back down.
It makes total sense why Osman places such extreme emphasis on mantra yoga. It's literally an emergency brake for your sanity.
But if Hatha yoga acts as the physical vehicle and mantra yoga acts as the psychological tether, what is actually happening inside the biological body during this process?
That is a great question because Osman has a completely transformative explanation for the true purpose of Hatha yoga that goes far beyond stretching hamstrings.
This completely redefines the physics of the practice.
According to Osman, the very second you make the firm intention to meditate, you automatically initiate a process of downloading cosmic energy.
And this happens even if you are a total novice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like sitting down for the very first time with a mind racing 1,000,000 miles a minute.
Absolutely. The intention itself triggers the download.
The phrase downloading cosmic energy immediately frames the human body as an organic receiver, like an antenna.
Precisely. Now, for a novice, this download occurs at a very slow, mild pace, a gradual drip.
But here's the critical biological and energetic mechanism. This incoming energy does not just evaporate into the ether.
It enters the physical organism and it pools. It collects and stagnates in specific pockets within the body's energy centers.
Osman provides very specific anatomical numbers for this system too.
He does. He states that the human body contains a total of 114 energy centers.
But in the average modern person, only 26 of those centers are actively functioning by default.
Which means the vast majority, roughly 80% of your energy grid, is completely dormant.
From an evolutionary or biological standpoint, you can hypothesize why this happens, right?
Definitely. Modern humans live largely sedentary, highly predictable lives. We do not require the full energetic capacity of our nervous systems to survive in a climate-controlled, digitized environment.
The body conserves resources by shutting down pathways that aren't rigorously utilized. Use it or lose it.
Exactly. But if I sit and meditate every day, downloading this energy, and I never physically move to distribute it,
That energy is slowly dripping into a system where 80% of the pathways are blocked.
the energy has nowhere to go. It pools in those 26 active centers, creating massive energetic bottlenecks.
It overloads the active circuits.
So if you are doing intense mindfulness meditation for an hour a day, but you skip the physical postures of Hatha yoga,
You are essentially overcharging one single battery in a massive electrical grid while the other 80 batteries go completely dead.
eventually that overcharged battery is going to explode or the entire system is going to crash.
That is the exact mechanism of imbalance. And Hatha yoga, the precise, intentional physical stretching, squeezing, and bending, is the method by which you route the power.
It is an irrigation system for the nervous system.
Osman points out that you don't even need to perform hundreds of acrobatic postures either.
No, just 3 to 7 basic postures, executed properly, create the mechanical compression and expansion necessary to force that pooled energy out of the active centers.
And distribute it evenly into the dormant pathways.
Yeah,
You're physically squeezing the stagnant energy out of the pockets.
like a massive reservoir of water. The downloaded energy will flood and destroy a single field if you don't physically crank open the irrigation gates.
The hatha postures are the physical gates that allow the water to nourish the entire desert.
And Osman offers his own life as the ultimate, undeniable case study that this precise distribution of energy fundamentally alters human biology.
His personal testimony in the source material is just profoundly moving.
It really is. Osman is entirely transparent about the fact that he suffered the loss of his eyesight. He actually mentions that he has been permanently blind only since May 2023.
Right, which means for the vast majority of his life, he had normal eyesight. That's why he's able to describe visual concepts so accurately in his teachings.
Exactly. But despite experiencing what most would consider a devastating physical trauma, losing his sight, he maintains an extraordinary, robust level of health in every other conceivable metric.
He describes his internal somatic state with incredible detail. He states that internally, he feels exactly as he did when he was 16 years old.
He possesses the physical flexibility, the mobility, and the voracious metabolic appetite of a teenager.
That's wild. But beyond the physical markers, he has retained an uncrushable passion and positivity for life.
He contrasts his own vitality with a tragic phenomenon he has witnessed over his 44 years of teaching.
He warns about advanced meditators, people who dedicate their lives to sitting in silence but completely neglect the physical distribution of hatha yoga.
He observes that these individuals often face premature deaths.
And if they survive into old age, their lives are characterized by absolute physical drudgery. They are crippled by chronic ailments, strokes, paralysis.
Endless surgeries, and a heavy reliance on a cocktail of medications.
They achieved remarkable levels of meditative insight, but because they neglected the holistic equilibrium of the body, their physical vessels literally burned out from the uneven energetic load.
They overcharged the battery without routing the power.
Osman is living proof that if you distribute the energy evenly, you don't just survive trauma, you maintain a vibrant, youthful life force.
A biological resilience that refuses to be diminished by external circumstances.
And distributing this energy isn't just a biohack to avoid chronic back pain or keep a healthy appetite. It is the absolute prerequisite for the next stage of human potential.
Because once you successfully irrigate those 80% of dormant energy centers, the entire system begins to wake up.
When you consistently practice hatha alongside your meditation, spreading that downloaded energy into the dormant pathways, you activate the dominant life force energy resting at the base of the spine.
The Kundalini energy. And Osman notes that achieving this safely is almost impossible without utilizing these holistic systemic methods.
The phrase Kundalini awakening carries so much cultural baggage, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. People imagine it as this psychedelic light show, or suddenly developing the ability to levitate or shoot lasers from their hands.
But Osman grounds this concept in something unbelievably practical. He describes it as the development of the ethereal or light body.
Which manifests as an ability to perceive higher frequencies of reality.
And how do those higher frequencies translate into daily human life? Like, it isn't about seeing ghosts.
No, it translates into a state of profound hyperperception. It is an exponential, almost unimaginable upgrade to emotional and social intelligence.
He explains that when these centers awaken, you begin to understand human beings on a completely different level.
You catch the microscopic intonations in their voices. You feel the underlying mood behind their words.
You intuitively grasp their true intentions before they even fully articulate them.
He gives a brilliant example. A colleague or a family member could say the exact same phrase to you every single day, "Good morning," or "I'm fine."
But because your nervous system is tuned to these higher frequencies, you immediately recognize that today, the energetic footprint of that phrase is entirely different.
You are no longer relying solely on the auditory output or the linguistic definition of the words.
You are processing the subtle energetic data underlying the communication.
Osman notes that when people are struggling to express themselves, grappling with complex emotions they can't quite put into words, you understand exactly what they mean before they can finish the sentence.
You are basically reading the code of the matrix in your daily conversations.
It's like everyone else is communicating via a blurry black and white television signal, and your receiver has suddenly been upgraded to 4K ultra-high definition.
You see the subtext, the hidden fears, the unspoken desires. It's just a completely different level of awareness.
And consider the societal implications of widespread hyperempathy.
Yeah, the vast majority of human conflict is rooted in miscommunication and defensive reactivity.
We argue because we don't feel heard, or because we fundamentally misinterpret the intent behind someone's actions.
If you possess the capacity to perceive the true intention beneath the clumsy words, your defensiveness naturally drops away.
Compassion is no longer a forced moral obligation. It is the natural byproduct of clear perception.
And this expanded awareness doesn't stop at human interaction. Osman applies this hyper-perception to the entire ecosystem.
He explains that this awakening naturally leads to living in total harmony with the environment.
It allows a practitioner to create genuine win-win situations, not just with other humans, but with animals, plants, and the natural world.
It shifts the entire paradigm of yoga from a selfish solo endeavor, the modern pursuit of personal enlightenment, to a deeply communal and ecological imperative.
It envisions a society operating on an entirely different frequency of cooperation.
It really is a breathtaking vision of human potential.
But you cannot build this high-tech 4K matrix reading antenna without a foundation.
No, you can't just forcefully awaken Kundalini energy and expect to suddenly become a hyper-empathetic master of the universe.
Which brings us to the absolute bedrock of Osman's entire architectural framework: karma, bhakti, and common-sense humanity.
This is where Osman brings the lofty cosmic concepts firmly back down to earth.
He introduces two foundational yogas that he admits he often hesitates to emphasize in modern settings.
Simply because the modern mind immediately misinterprets them as religious dogma or sectarianism.
And those two paths are Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga.
Right. Bhakti yoga is traditionally understood as the path of faith, trust, and sincere devotion.
And Karma Yoga is the path of selfless service and right action.
Osman is incredibly careful to strip the religious dogma away from these concepts and present them through a rigorous scientific lens.
He doesn't ask you to blindly believe. He points to vast long-term epidemiological studies.
We're talking about studies spanning 20 to 30 years, observing hundreds of thousands of individuals across various demographics and cultures.
The physiological data on faith and service is just staggering.
Osman notes that these massive studies consistently demonstrate that individuals who harbor sincere faith, trust, and strong belief, regardless of the specific religious framework, exhibit a massive reduction in negative health markers.
Their baseline stress levels drop by approximately 30%.
And their likelihood of developing chronic ailments decreases by roughly 20%.
Let's dive into the neurobiology of that for a moment, because it explains the why.
Right. When an individual operates without any overarching trust in the universe, or without faith in a greater purpose, the brain's amygdala remains in a state of hypervigilance.
The body perceives the unknown future as a constant threat.
This triggers a chronic release of cortisol and adrenaline, which degrades cellular health, suppresses the immune system, and drives systemic inflammation.
Bhakti Yoga Sincere Trust acts as a massive physiological intervention.
It signals to the nervous system that it is safe to downregulate. The vagus nerve activates, cortisol drops, and the physical body literally relaxes its defensive posture.
So Bhakti isn't about appeasing an angry deity. It is a measurable biological requirement for cellular longevity.
Exactly. And then we have karma yoga, which is often severely misunderstood in the West.
People think karma yoga means volunteering at a soup kitchen once a year so you can post about it on social media and feel like a good person.
Right. But Osman tells a specific story to define what true karma yoga actually looks like in practice.
The story of the Japanese wash shop. This perfectly encapsulates the ethos of right action.
It really does. Osman recounts a true incident involving a highly exclusive watch store in Japan.
A multimillionaire, perhaps even a billionaire, who is an avid watch collector, visits the store.
He spots an incredibly rare, valuable collector's piece.
He wants it immediately. He has the cash in hand. He is a guaranteed, highly lucrative buyer.
But the store owners flatly refuse to sell it to him.
Why would a business refuse a guaranteed massive payday?
Because they had previously promised to reserve that specific watch for someone else.
And the detail that makes this profound is that the other person hadn't even purchased it yet.
They had merely asked the shop to hold the watch for 3 months while they considered it.
There was no down payment, no guarantee of a sale.
But the shop owners valued their word, their honor, more than the immediate financial windfall of selling it to the billionaire.
Placing honor above profit. That is the uncompromising essence of karma yoga.
It is not confined to tithing a percentage of your income to charity. It dictates how you conduct the microscopic transactions of your daily life.
It is the absolute commitment to keeping your word. It is ensuring that your labor does not extract value at the expense of others.
Osman explicitly states that if you know the product you are selling or the advice you are dispensing is going to negatively impact a person's life, you have a moral duty to inform them.
Even if it costs you the sale.
Yes.
Hold on, I have to interrupt here because I can hear the modern corporate mindset grinding its gears.
I know exactly what you're going to ask.
If karma yoga is strictly about putting honor above profit and selfless service, doesn't it make you incredibly vulnerable in a cutthroat world?
Does practicing this mean you have to become a complete doormat?
Exactly. Am I supposed to just let people take advantage of my honesty and turn the other cheek while my competitors crush me?
It is the most common hesitation, and Osman addresses it with refreshing pragmatism.
Thank goodness.
Practicing karma yoga does not mean you surrender your boundaries or submit to abuse.
If someone wrongs you or attempts to exploit your honesty, you have every right to speak up.
You have the right to voice your objection and defend your interests verbally.
And if necessary, you have the right to defend yourself physically.
Setting firm boundaries and protecting yourself from harm is not a violation of karma yoga. It is a recognition of your own intrinsic value within the ecosystem.
You do not help the world by allowing yourself to be destroyed by it.
Well said. And what about the bhakti aspect? Does faith mean I have to adopt a specific religious label to engage this biological benefit?
Absolutely not. You do not need a religious text to dictate common sense human values.
You don't need to formally convert to Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, or Islam to practice bhakti.
Your faith can be placed in the scientific pursuit of truth, in the overarching betterment of humanity, or in the ethical norms that promote the greater good.
You can look at secular organizations, homeless shelters, the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, and channel your devotion and selfless service there.
Your religion can simply be the sincere upliftment of the destitute.
It is about accessing the fundamental core of reality, which Osman bluntly identifies as love.
He asks a devastatingly simple question. What is the point of doing all these advanced mindfulness practices, sitting in perfect silence and twisting yourself into advanced hatha postures, if you can't even manage to greet your own neighbor with genuine warmth?
Or if a desperate family member reaches out to you for help, and you possess the full capacity to assist them, but you choose not to because you are too busy focusing on your own personal spiritual growth.
If you are so spiritually advanced that you are completely useless to the suffering people standing right in front of you, you aren't advanced at all.
You haven't transcended your ego. You have just built a very complex, very spiritual-sounding ego.
The bedrock of civilization is basic human decency. You cannot bypass that foundational layer.
You cannot meditate your way out of being a fundamentally decent, reliable person.
If you want to safely elevate to the higher levels of yogic science, if you want to handle the hyper-empathy, the immense vitality, and the cosmic energy downloads, you must possess the structural integrity of basic, civilized human ethics to ground that energy.
If you try to plug a supercomputer into a wall outlet in a house that has a rotting foundation, the house is going to collapse long before you can process any data.
Wow, that's a perfect analogy. And that brings us full circle to the sheer, magnificent scope of Osman's architectural map for human optimization.
We started by asking what yoga really is, and we have completely dismantled the modern aesthetic of tight pants and trendy studios.
We've seen that authentic yoga science is a comprehensive system for navigating the entirety of human reality, from internal trauma to external conflict.
It requires the physical distribution of downloaded energy through the precise biological mechanisms of hatha yoga.
It requires the psychological tether, the insurance policy of mantra yoga, to ensure you don't lose your grip on reality when you venture into the uncharted territories of your own subconscious mind.
Underneath all of that sophisticated, energetic, and psychological architecture, it relies entirely on the grounding, rock-solid bedrock of karma and bhakti.
Sincere faith and selfless action, keeping your promises, acting with uncompromising honor, and displaying common-sense humanity to the people and animals in your immediate ecosystem.
If you want to explore more of Osman's incredible teachings, access more resources, or get in contact with him directly, you absolutely have to visit his website at yogawellness786.com.
I highly recommend diving deeper into his work, because we have only just scratched the surface of a 50-year practice today.
The depth of practical, road-tested wisdom he offers is truly remarkable for anyone serious about holistic development.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a challenging new perspective to mull over. We spend so much time in the modern world desperately trying to optimize our routines.
We download the latest mindfulness apps, we buy the expensive gear, and we try to hack our way to enlightenment through sheer force of will and hyper-specialization.
But based on the vast ancient architecture we've explored today, the most advanced spiritual practice you might engage in today isn't a complex breathing technique or a difficult physical posture.
It might just be keeping a difficult promise you made to a colleague.
It might be choosing honor over profit in a tiny, unseen moment where no one would know the difference. It might be finally checking in on that neighbor you've been avoiding.
Because if cosmic energy is genuinely distributed by how we physically move our bodies, may be true, lasting spiritual advancement is distributed by how we act in our most mundane human moments.
What is one mundane promise you can honor today to ground your own spiritual spaceship before you try to fly into the unknown? Think about that. Until next time.